Record. Ladies, so I saw another video that made me crash out. These males, okay? These males, their existence bothers the heck out of my soul, okay? It bothers the heck out of my soul, okay? There is this one. I just saw a video where one creator has a video that says, not that he's older, he understands his father better. Let's just watch.
Never defended my dad. I never defended him to other people, but I defended him to myself. I definitely excused him and excused pretty much all of his problematic behavior, even though I knew it was problematic as a child.
I feel like every man reaches the age where they truly start to understand their father. At some point in life, it's just gonna hit you. Like, you might just wake up and it's like, damn, pops, I get it now.
It has gotten to a point now where now I don't care for the validation of men and just I don't know where it came from. It's this intuition, if you will, like this innate understanding. I don't know where it came from. It's this intuition, if you will, that he wasn't a good person. And my proof of that is when I was in the 7th grade, I went to go stay with my dad.
So basically, what's happening here is we're going to review these two males and how they both think about both their dads and their moms.
I lived in Southern California. He lived in Seattle, Washington, right downtown Seattle, Washington. Beautiful. Walk 3 minutes walking distance from the Space Needle. Lived in an apartment on the 3rd floor, so you can see the Space Needle from the window. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you were gonna move from where I moved from Long Beach, California, up to Seattle, that was a great move. It felt very natural. It kind of felt like home in so many ways. It was very beautiful. So, anyways, I went to go live with him, and my dad and my mom had got divorced when I was 6 years old. Now I'm 12, 13, 7th grade, and my dad was problematic. Like, I knew at that time he was problematic. I knew at that time, even though I was a young boy, even though I wasn't, I just knew. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I'll give you an example of how I knew though. So that happened. I'm up there. He ended up going to jail for some weird shit. I ain't gonna get into that. I told that story before, but he ended up going to jail for some weird shit. And this lady who he had met while he was up there called while he was in jail. I answered the phone, spoke to her. I think I might have told her that he was in jail and everything. Because I'm 12, I'm a 12-year-old boy. So if I'm talking to an adult, you can get a lot out of a 12-year-old boy if you're an adult. And she got a lot out of me. And it's not her fault. You know what I'm saying? But I gave it up. I revealed this information because I knew. I was like, there's something not right about this dude. And I told her everything because I didn't like what he did. And when I got up there, he did this. There was this really weird thing that happened. He made us get on the bus, and we caught the bus like clear across town to go grocery shopping. But it was an adventure with pops. You know what I'm saying? I love to go on adventures with my dad. He's still alive. He was, though, at that time. He was an interesting person. Really was. Really smart, especially to a 12-year-old boy. He was really smart. And just interesting. Like all the time that I spent with him when I was a kid, I would say prior to, being like I was 19, like 16 years old, I always like had these like rich experiences with him. And this was just another one. Up until we were coming back home on the bus and we stopped. Just like he was like, get out right here. And we got off the bus and we were like really far away from the house. But he made us get off the bus and it was like a hair salon or something like that. And he was like, go in there. I don't remember exactly, but he basically made me like go in there and like ask for directions. And he was like, go to this specific lady. So I didn't know. So I go in there. He basically was putting me in the middle of some shit as his fucking 12-year-old son. I didn't know. I never met this lady, but I went in there. I met her. And then I was like, okay, like, thanks. And then the lady asked me, it was crazy. She asked me if I knew my dad. And I was like, no, I don't know who that is. And then she was like, oh, because you look like him. And I was like, no. So I'm lying to this strange lady who I never met. I had to lie to her. So I go home and then like, it was like that night or the next night was something like really quick. She came over. She was like on her way. And my dad was like, hey, go in the room and put cover your head in like a towel or something and don't let her see your face. It was the weirdest shit I had ever experienced up until that point. And this lady came over and he told me that he was like, act like you're sick. I told her you're really sick. And I'm in the room and I'm acting the part and I couldn't come out of my room. Like no TV back there. Like I couldn't be out there with everybody. Like it was just the dumbest shit ever. And all because he was playing some weird ass game. I don't even know to this day what he was trying to do. But anyways, so that episode happened. That lady calls while he's gone. I talk to her. I tell her everything. Like, yeah, he made me go in there. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know what that was about. And she was like, don't worry. She forgave me. She knew that he was a weirdo at that point. And I had revealed like why he and my mother got divorced. I revealed why my mom kicked him out essentially to her. And I gave her the whole rundown. Mind you, I had just found out. So it was like fresh in my brain. It was like fresh in my brain. You know, what had happened. It was like the first time I'd ever really talked to anybody about it. Because my mom never talked to me about it. Nobody else talked to me about it, right? So I had revealed all this stuff to her, this stranger who I met her, but I didn't know her at all. And I wouldn't have done that. I would have done that like to my mom. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody would have called and like asked me to say, I would have protected my mom at all costs. And me and my mom didn't have the best relationship at that time, right? But I would have protected my mom without a doubt. No question about it. I would have protected her. But my dad, I like gave it up just like so easily because I knew he was weird. I knew he was problematic, but I was still his son and I was still 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like I was still a child and I still like longed for his presence. And, I still want, I needed that connection at that time. So I couldn't reconcile those two things though. Like how weird he was, how problematic he was with my desire to be near him. It was like, he was bad to everybody else but me. Like that's how I felt at the time. But he was bad to me too. You know what I mean? Like he was bad to me, but I compartmentalized the things that he did or didn't do to me and for me or whatever. Like I wouldn't see him for years. I wouldn't hear from him for months. And then he would pop up and I would talk to him every day for 6 weeks. Like I made all these concessions and I ended up living with him, right? For however, long I ended up living with him at that time. But I say all that to say, I never defended my dad. I never defended him to other people, but I defended him to myself. I definitely excused him and excused pretty much all of his problematic behavior, even though I knew it was problematic as a child. Even though I knew that, I still excused it because I wanted to have that relationship with him. I will never understand as an adult man growing up and still protecting your father or the image of your father. I don't understand that shit, especially if you have kids. But there are so many men that still like long for that connection with their dads that they go out here and lie for their dads to themselves, but also to the world. They make all of these concessions and they just say they have this really weird language.
I feel like every man reaches an age where they truly start to understand their father. At some point in life, it's just going to hit you. Like you might just wake up and it's like, damn, Pops, I get it now. Or you could be doing something that's like, damn, I'm turning to my dad. But every man reaches a certain point in life where you truly start to understand your father. And it's really cool if you gain this clarity while your dad is still alive. Because then you can connect on a different level. It's like, I understand you a lot more. Like I see why you did this thing that way, or why you went about it in that manner, right? You truly understand the process. And having that insight is really cool. But every man truly does reach a point where they start to understand their father a lot more. You wake up one day and it just hits you. You could be grinding early, going to bed late, and it's like, I don't know, you just hit this point.
So basically, what I hear when I hear men talk like that is you're making excuses in your old age because your dad still hasn't been able to explain to you why he is the way that he is. So now you're making excuses for him as an adult male. Because why do you need to understand your dad better as an adult? You see what I'm saying? Like my 9-year-old son, I promise y'all, I promise y'all, my 9-year-old son won't feel like this about me when he's 30 years old. I'm not saying, yeah, my 9-year-old son asks me why I do everything that I do right now in real time. And I tell him.
Okay, so he's getting wrong what actually is happening here. He's getting it wrong and it frustrates me because it's like something just isn't right with these males. They know who they themselves are, but they are still in denial of what even they are, so that they have this duality going on with them. This man is a male. The reason the males come online to say that all men are predators and you are the prey is because they know each other. You do not make pronouncements like that unless you know for sure that that is true. Unless you know for sure that that is true. And he knows for sure that that is true. Based on the information that I know about him, based on having followed his channel for years now, okay, he has said that a lot of the behaviors that these males engage in, he has done it too. And his wife was the one who not only helped him be better, right? Which means that he is exactly the same way, but that he himself is still learning because his true nature continues to want to assert itself. And also that the nature of himself versus the nature of humans is so vastly different that it is going to be like a lifetime of learning for him. So when he's getting this wrong, it shows the duality of denial that is in him. This is what made them say that God created them. right? In his image, that God created them at all. The denial that they are parasites, lower level, disgusting, evil creatures. Yeah? The denial of that. If you talk to a man, if you talk to a man, a criminal, like one of those hardened criminals, yeah? He's been to jail 500 times. He's a drug dealer. He's all these things. He will tell you he is good. He will tell you he is good. The reason you cannot get them to acknowledge what is going on in the dating market with males continuing to murder women, to rape and exploit women, is because they think they are good. Even when they know they are predators, they will still tell you that the predator has a better right than the prey. And that will be fine. You can't help those guys, except for this one right here. He's trying to be better, and he still has such a long way to go. And this is why they will kill you intentionally, or they will kill you unintentionally, because the depth of what they are versus what the female is, what is actually human nature, is so far below. There is such a large difference that they will kill you intentionally or unintentionally. So let me tell you what this man actually said. When he was a child, I don't know what happened when he was a child, but he is having to deal with the life occurrences that happen to adult humans, the biology that adult humans have to engage in. When you are a child, you are protected from a lot of things. The reason that we don't have to work as children is because our parents are dealing with all those things. Our parents are dealing with all of those things. They have to go to school. They have to go to work. They have to do all of these things. When you are an adult, you are no longer protected from any aspect of life. You have to meet them full faced. Okay. When you are a child, your parents are mitigating some of that for you. They are handling all the work for you. They're handling all the dealing with the neighbors. They're handling all the house issues, so that all you have to do is what? Play and school. That is what is happening. Now he's an adult and he has to full on face the biological process that is involved in being a human in a human community. That means that he has to go to work. He has to manage this. He has to do that. He has to get sex. He has to do this. He has to deal with women who are working, who don't have time for him. He has to deal with this. He has to deal with that. And he's failing at it. He's failing at something. That's what he's describing with how he described how the work is. Because I also have to go. I also had to go to work. Currently I work for myself, but I had to go to work and work for someone else where I would work literally all day. I never go complaining like this, as though it is just so as though life is impossible. I complain that the work is hard, but I didn't complain about it like life itself is impossible. Right? That's what he's trying to say. That's what he's trying to say. And because life is impossible for him, because he doesn't have the human wiring to deal with all those things. He has limited attention. He has limited life, attention span. Right? So he's struggling. That's what he's saying. He understands why his daddy will let things drop. He's saying that's why he understands why his daddy will let certain plates drop. That's what he's saying.
I'm not harming.
And of course, most of it is going to be most of the context that he's talking about is going to be about a woman, but he started it off as work because it is the work that enables him to get a woman. So this is all going to circle back into a woman because that is their entire purpose, which is to get an attachment to a female, which is a host. It's not just a female. It just happens to be a female where everything has been set up to be as. But any attachment, any target, anything that can be a host to him is what he's looking at. It is just that in the current setup, the most convenient one is a female. And that is why you see them going off to rape animals, right? Because even though females are what is most convenient right now, they still have access to the other ones. And so the behavior comes out. If not for what they are, right? An organism that can infect anything, yeah? You would never ever in your life hear of an instance of that happening, of them doing it with animals, of them doing it with dead bodies. You would never hear such an instance. So everything is going to circle back to a female, to some woman who is dealing with, who he has to work in order to keep. And he has to work in order to keep her because she is a fully functioning human organism who understands that she has two mandates in life, which is one, to find food and eat, and one, to also reproduce. Yeah? And in that sense, she needs the security. That is what the security is. That is when I say that we want security and stability, that is what we mean. Security of the home, security of food on the table. That is what we mean. Their species does not, in their original species, they do not have to eat, they do not have to drink, they do not need air, which means that the ley lines, okay, the instincts and all that stuff that is going to require, that is going to think about security and stability is not in them. They do not have that wiring. That is why you have to continue to remind them. That is why you have to even remind them at all. You never ever have to tell a woman that you need security and stability. You never have to use those words because we get it. We get it immediately. Of course you have to eat. Of course your kids need to eat. Of course you need a roof. Oh, they also would not need a roof. They also would not need a roof. Do you understand that? In their original form, they would not need a roof. This is why they don't bother to buy houses. Except for when it's time to get married. Except for when it's time to please the female. You never have to tell other women that you need security and stability because we already get it. That's like saying, I need to blink my eyes. That is like, to us, that is literally like saying, I need to blink my eyes. Yeah, we know. You don't have to tell us that. We know that you need to blink your eyes. That is exactly the same thing. But you have to remind them that you need security and stability because they do not have the mind to think about that. Because the absence of them needing those things makes so that the wirings to support that behavior of seeking food, of seeking roof, of seeking air, of seeking water are missing in them. This is why they continue to mess up in the basic instances of life. They can barely do life. This is why the snoring is a problem. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? This is why they snore and they don't care to fix it. Because they don't even understand that they need to breathe. That's what he's saying. He is having to be full fessed on with what it takes to be human, because a woman he's dealing with has to continue to demand things from him because of her humanity, which to her, they are like second skin. All these things to her are second skin. So she cannot not stop. So she cannot not stop, or she cannot stop asking him for them. She cannot stop asking him for them. This is why they hate being married, because you continue to demand that they be human, and they cannot be human. This is what they call nagging. Every time you want a clean home, every time you want a clean home, you are demanding that they be human instead of the savages they would be. Every time you want them to do things with you, you are demanding that they be human when they are not. And they hate that. And the reason this is why I know that whatever it is that caused this, it must be an aberration, because they hate being human. They hate having to face all the things that it means to be human, all the non-superficial things that it means to be human, all the things that you cannot see but are there nonetheless. They hate having to face up to that.
Harming my son, and I'm not harming him. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about him like needing to understand me when he's like. Granted, he's a child, so he doesn't understand the reason why, maybe we don't. I'm not gonna make it. I father how he, which ended up being my wife and my brother. My blood.
He's transporting it because he's getting it wrong.
World, they test for his father's approval, so much so that he's will prove. That's what it is. Hell no. This is what we call a father wound. But now I'm a shitty man. He didn't even really give us a test with manhood and man. I really wish the gums was on fire. That's life. That's crazy. I really wish men would stop fucking being obsessed with example of like what it hell no. When your father.
No, this is not a father. Hold on a second, you guys. There is no such thing as a father wound. And this is them trying to find an excuse to explain why they can see that they are fucked up. They can see that something is not right with them. So they're trying to find ways to explain it. Because here's the reason. Here's the like one of the things that explains why they had to use God. Their own existence did not make sense. If you've ever come across an explanation of how did males evolve, right? Where did males come from? You've never, ever heard that question about females. Do you hear me? You have never, ever heard that question about females. Why? Because female existence makes sense. Female existence makes sense. That would be like asking, where did the earth come from? Do you see the difference here? The earth existing makes sense. Male existence has never ever made sense. Not even to them on a subconscious level. They know something is wrong with them. There is no such thing as a father wound, because their species is the type that would not need a father. Their species is the type that you have a progeny and you leave your progeny to do whatever it does. But they see that in the human species, we do not do that. So they are trying to reconcile that behavior with their own. because your parents, and the reason is that, and the reason they're tacking it on to the father is because they recognize that the father is their origin story, not the mother. The mother is who they parasited. They parasited. The mother is who they used, who their father used to make them. The mother is not their real kin on a philo, on a genus level, as in your species level, right? But on a biological level, which is basically your genes, yes, your mother is in fact your kin, but your species is your father. Your mother is not your species. So that is why they are trying to reconcile the two, what they see is human behavior and their own species, right? They are trying to make an explanation for that. They're trying to explain that which is there. Instead of finding out what is actually supposed to be true, they are trying to explain what is there. But what is there is something that is not natural. This is why they're coming up with all these things to explain it. But they're getting it wrong because they don't realize that what they're saying is not supposed to be natural. So it would be like, if you have viruses reproducing in somebody's body, right? And then the viruses are like, oh, where's my daddy? Where's my dad? You know how ridiculous that would be. Oh, my daddy wasn't there, therefore I didn't grow into a perfect virus. This is like that. This is like that. So he's trying to use human and human thing to explain his parasite thing. And the two just do not go together, which means they're gonna get it wrong.
Father isn't supportive when they attempt to mold or shape you. When they tell you stuff like man up, when he's not approving, and you're longing for his approval, which it sounds like that man is. He's still longing for his father's approval, so much so that he's willing to make concessions for his father's bad behavior.
So what? Let's say you do have your father's approval. Right? There was a kid who that I just reviewed the video of in what is called. Actually, let me look up the title because excuse me. A good boy or a predator? Yes, a good boy or a predator. This one. Good boy or a predator? A good boy or a predator? Whew, okay, this one. Give me just a minute here. Oh, God. Those drive me nuts. I swear to God. Recorded. A number in 500. We this one like it does. This one. So what if you have a father? So what if you have a supportive family home? Look at him. It looks like the quintessential American family. But this kid killed his girlfriend. Are not two genders. Human parasite. Human, and a parasite. Human parasite. Human parasite. Parasite, human. Human parasite. Not human. Not human. Human. Single
are getting radicalized. This 17-year-old just unalived her.
So what? So what if you had a good family home? That doesn't change what you are. Genes simply do not work that way. That doesn't change what you are. Listen to me. Afghanistan have forced women into such a state that they're basically slaves now. That they're basically slaves, which means that the women are in the home with their sons, raising their sons alongside their husbands. And what are those males doing? The same BS every male does. Atrocity after atrocity after atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. How come the fathers being in that home is not helping? How come that father being in that home, in those homes in Afghanistan, how come that is not helping them be better? If this was true, then Afghanistan should be on top of the world as far as the best males. The worst. They are literally the worst. They are literally the worst. Enough. This is nonsense. This is the nonsense that you can come up with when you are feeding yourself nonsense data. Males do not have father wounds. They do not have mother wounds. They're just wicked people. They are just wicked. How come? If that was the case, because we are assuming that they are on a level playing field with females. In order for this to be the case, in order for this to even matter, in order for us to keep saying this, we have to assume that there's a level playing field with females to begin with, and that they are simply off of it in this one instance of this one male. And that he's traumatized because of something, which means that his baseline has to be the same as females. But females have father wounds. We also have mother wounds, supposedly. How come we are not out there causing atrocities on a large scale? How come? Because something was already wrong with these males. And if something was already wrong with you, then your father wound is not what caused it. Your father wound did not exacerbate it. Your father wound didn't do anything. Which then calls into question, do you have it? Do you even have it in the first place if you were already like this? If you were already like this, do you actually have a father wound?
Show up uncomfortable with expressing your emotions, like in that video. He wasn't being vulnerable.
Uncomfortable expressing your emotions, Liz. Oh God! If I'm not laughing, I would be crying. If I'm not laughing, I would be crying. Look what I didn't even bother reading this because that's just how abjectly stupid this is. But let's read what's on this page. Father wound, unresolved emotional wounds, pain and trauma of a father unintentionally passed down to his child. By what? By what behavior, though? By what behavior? If a father was not loving or supportive, attempted to mold or shape you, man box mentally man up, man box mentally man up, not approving, only showed love when you did or achieved something intrusive, not predictable, and hostile, absent. Oh God. Oh goodness gracious. They, they have they have they have made a they have put down every instance of male demonism on here as a problematic thing that is causing him to do this stuff. That means that, I mean, this are the things that he would grow up doing. This is male behavior right here because this is simply what their biology is. Because their behavior, because their biology is such that they do not need to relate to each other. Therefore, they do not have all these things. They're not loving or supportive. They don't attempt to mold or shape you or do all these things. They don't have to approve of you, which is why they typically do not. It will show up as uncomfortable and with expressing your emotions. Overly defensive about mistakes. Oh my God, they are trying to make themselves human. They are trying to make themselves human. Listen, and it could work for a very, very tiny fraction of males. But each iteration of new male, every male that is born will have to learn this because their biology is such that it has evolved to a state where it is happy with its evolution, right? Where it is happy with its evolution. Therefore, it's going to stay like that. It's not going to evolve to be better. If anything, it would evolve to be worse. It would evolve to be more controlling of the female, not the other way around, which is each new male will be exactly this or worse, right? But even let's say that if it does become, let's say it does become like a global thing where males are actually replicating the behavior of human, it's still not going to solve the problem. There will still be a significant amount of times when when femicides is going to be happening, when violence against males are going to be against females are going to be happening. Because again, nature over nurture. It's not that that nurture cannot win against nature. It is that the difference, that there is a large differential between what the male is and what the female is. And you are trying to make males reach all the way high to where they cannot reach. That means only a small fraction of them will be able to reach that high. And it would not be on a large scale, which means it is already a failing solution. These males are delusional, and they have made us delusional with them. This is not father wound, this is species.
What happened? What did your dad do that you feel like you need to excuse now? I don't know. Overly defensive about mistakes, even about the mistakes that your father made. Oh yeah, no, we're good. I forgave him. Now I understand better. desire to be seen as strong and never weak. I see that every fucking day on the internet. Yearning for father's approval throughout life, unconsciously. Now that's the one. That's where we're at.
Desire to be seen as strong and never weak. No, again, that is not father wound. That is simply male species. That is simply male species, because you see, the male's very purpose of life is to find a host to attach to, and in order to do so, it has to have the ability to overwhelm its its target. It has to have the ability to overwhelm its target the exact same way where where lions have to be stronger than their prey. And this is why lions don't attack elephants, because the elephant is far too big for their strength to even matter, right? So yeah, so you have to be stronger than your prey. That is what that is coming from. This is literally prey versus predator here.
Right now, longing, yearning for your father's approval throughout life. That
comes from the fact that they know that the phenotype that they're seeing on themselves and on females, right? That is not their own, so they feel out of place, and the only one that kind of anchors them is the father thing, other males. It's not just the father, it's other males. It's other males, because they know there's a thing with organisms where you have the ability to recognize your own kind. And that is because it is for your safety, because your kind is not designed to hurt you. They have zero design to want to hurt you. That is why it is safe to know which one is your own kind. And the way that you do that is to find anything that is not your kind repulsive on a kind of like low-key repulsive. Low-key repulsive. I'm not saying real repulsive, but low-key repulsive. That is why when you see hair on men's backs, that is outside of your phenotype as a female. Even though the human, the Homo sapiens form, the bipedalism, the non-furred skin, the hairless skin, that is the human phenotype. That is why when you see the hair, it is now outside of the human phenotype, and that is why it makes you sick to your stomach. That's why it makes you sick to your stomach. And the opposite is for men. For men, the hairless skin, the bipedalism, that is their prey phenotype. Do you understand that? That is their prey phenotype. That is why they take the time to not look like the prey phenotype. That is why they will have hair on their faces. That is why they have hair on their faces, so they cannot look like the prey. So they can tell who is prey and who is not. That is literally something that their genes designed. That is why they have hair on their faces, hair on their backs, so they can identify who is the prey and who is not. They have to look different from us so that they can ID their own prey, so they don't prey on themselves. Do you understand that? This is why the phenotype is slightly different.
The father wound, and that motherfucker is gaping. A few of the comments as well that I found interesting. Walter Owen said, even though conditions weren't ideal, that man gave me the tools I needed to thrive in this country as a black man. Helmer Blitz said, my dad wasn't my op. He was a hurt boy in a grown man's body. We talk often now. He a real one. So when you read stuff like that, what do you like? For me, what I get from that is your dad harmed you, and now you're excusing him. And you're making, oh, he was a hurt boy in a man's body, which means what? How was he acting? If he was a hurt boy in a man's body, how was he acting? What would be your guess? I understand now 100% why he used to be upset at me for not knowing how to do things. Being in survival mode and doing everything on your own at a young age builds resentment. Yeah. The father wound. I like this one, though. This one resonated with me. I liked it so much that I actually liked it in the thing. Aaron said, never will understand leaving my kid. And then all the people that commented said, me neither. Now that I'm older, I start to understand this side more because of how my mom is, but it's still crazy to me. That was a little iffy, but he got there in the end. And then Lil homie said, or choosing the bottle over family. It's cool, though. No, it's not cool. See, they can't just, you know what I'm saying? They can't, like your dad abandoned you. Your dad chose the bottle. Your dad chose to chase women. Your dad chose drugs over you. And even then, it's hard for these men to just say the thing. It's like, no, my mama was terrible, but you still, no, your mama was perfectly okay. It had nothing to do with that one. Your daddy was a piece of shit. Me neither. Never, my guy. Exactly. So some of the men in that comment section were actually calling out the problematic behavior, and I can respect it. But some of y'all, those father wounds are gaping. Y'all got to work on those, man. I don't feel like I have a father wound anymore. I truly don't. I truly don't. Like, I don't give a fuck. And I'm so it has gotten to a point now where now I don't care for the validation of men in general. Which that's when I knew I had really reached kind of like a level of.
No, that's because his wife helped him understand the female perspective, and according to him, she had to basically take him to university because it took that long for him to really get it.
Nirvana, a level of zen, if you will. Like I was like, yeah, I genuinely don't give a fuck what men think about me. Like in general, like I just don't care. I don't care about what my male friends think about me anymore. I don't care about what my homies think, what my male family members. Because I clocked something. I started to realize that I had evolved past most of them, if not all of them, for the most part. I was like, oh, I've gotten to a place, and it's not. I'm not saying it's not. I know it sounds like, oh, you're saying you're better. Maybe I am better in some ways, but maybe I am. Shit, call it a spade. But it's not to like brag or anything like that. But I really actively have worked on that, like not giving a fuck, you know. And when you don't give a fuck about what other men think about you, it's a freeing experience, which I talked about on my page many times. But it also gives you insight into how men think and how men act. And you're like, okay, yeah, I could never care about what you motherfuckers think about me. I could never care what a group of people who refuse to read, who refuse to listen, who don't even recognize their own humanity. Why would I care about what you think about me? You don't even see yourself as a human being. Why would I care what you think about me? It doesn't mean that I don't care about them, though. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't care about what they think about me. Because they haven't done any other work. They haven't, nothing has changed. They're still, stuck in the arrested development, phase of their life. Stuck thinking like a 12-year-old. Talking the way we talked when we were 20 years old and shit.
Did you guys understand what he said? They don't even recognize their own humanity. My goodness, like the depth in that comment. The depth in that comment. Why is it that such phrases could never be used for women? Because recognizing your own humanity should not have to take work. That's like saying you have to pinch your fingers and you have to hold on to your eyelids and then you have to blink your own eyelids. That's like saying that. The only reason you will have to say that is because something that is supposed to automatically connect you to your humanity is missing. And the only way that could be missing is because something erased it. That's what he's saying. Because your humanity is supposed to be connected to you so inexorably, you cannot separate it from you. So that such a thing could never happen that you don't recognize your own humanity. This is not a coincidence that we don't have these phrases for men, for women, but we have them plenty for men. But we have plenty of the phrases of the predatory and bad phrases for men, but we don't have them for women. These are not coincidences. These are mirrors of what is going on the species level, on the genetic level. They don't recognize their own humanity because all they see is their parasitism, because the parasite is their true selves. It is them who come online and tell us all men are predators. We don't say that about them. They tell us that. They come online and tell us based on what they see of themselves. They are predators. They come online to tell us that based on what they see of themselves, they are evil creatures. They come online to say that. This is what they recognize themselves as. How come women don't have the same thing? How come we don't come online and say, you know, we women, we are predators? How come that never happens? These are the clues that are endless. The clues that are endless that women need to start paying attention to. The things that are subconscious, right? The things that have not been programmed in the larger space of society, the things that we have not been brainwashed on, those are the things that come out. Those are the things that come out with the truth, and they're all pointing to the same exact thing. They are all saying the same exact thing. That is when I knew. Because I knew that it was impossible. It would be impossible or very, very difficult, a thing to achieve, that everything is going to be pointing to the same thing. I thought that if they were actually human, at least half would point to that fact. At least half would point to that thing that they're human, and none of it does, except it's superficial. None of it does. The reason they can't recognize their own humanity is because they are not human. Your humanity should not be separable from you. Your humanity is not separable from you. The only reason you don't recognize your own humanity is because you do not have one, because you're not human. And you don't have one because you are not, in fact, human. I'll be right back. Get a drink of water. I apologize. Okay.
It's sad. I haven't done any other work. They haven't. I can never care.
I need you to start listening to things like this. Okay? He is also saying that he is connected with his humanity. Okay, well. But here's the thing with that, okay? That still doesn't change what he is, okay? It doesn't. You can be Jesus all day long. It's still not going to change that which is in you, okay? Which means that at such a time, when something breaks inside of him or something becomes convenient, he will easily revert to whatever that it is. Whatever that he is, he would revert to that. He will revert to that because that is his nature. And God forbid, when he does do that, when he does connect back to his true self, it will be hard for him to change that, because once you spend a significant amount of time being something that you are not, right? It might become habit, right? But it takes a lot for him to be that. It takes an enormous amount for him to be that. So when you actually connect to your true self, it's like you're free of all the baggages, which means, and then it does something to you psychologically where you don't want to go back to that stuff. You don't want to go back to the burden of being something else, something that you're not. So I just worry for his wife. I just worry for his wife because do you know how many stories I have read of men killing their wives in like at 80 years old? The 80 years old wife? The 80-year-old wife? Because he doesn't want to take care of her. Yeah. I've read many instances of that. Many instances of that. You spend your life with someone because they claim that they are good, only for you to find out they never were. They never were. Anyway, I'm going to have to call it quits there. Please, please, please. The reason that these things are important is that you need to know this, that we are at a critical moment where we can free ourselves and that the men are about to enslave us. Both those things are true at this very juncture in time. And if they ever get to enslaving us, which means we would have failed from freeing ourselves, there would never again be any opportunity to be free. You need to understand this. We are at a critical moment in time here that will never again reoccur. If the man ever succeeded in re-enslaving us, we will extinct. Not because they enslaved us, but because we would not have the time to get free before they no longer need us because of the AI revolution. Because of the AI revolution, we would not have the time to be free. And once they no longer need us, they will simply massacre us. They are not good enough. They are not nice enough. They are not human enough. They are not even decent enough to let us just live in peace when they don't want us. They are nothing but pure evil manifest. Okay? If they no longer need us, they will massacre us. They will massacre us. That is the only option based on what I know of what they are. And if you're still confused, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I am crazy, I need you to understand this. I need you to understand this fact. They need us right now, and they are massacring us. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? They're telling us we are useless. They are giving us signals that we should not exist, and they need us. Do you understand that? Are your ears opening up? They need us, and they cannot stop telling us how useless we are. They need us. They cannot stop killing us. What happens when they don't? There is only one possible option. There is only one possible option. These bills are not good enough for you to doubt this, for you to give them this benefit of doubt that they won't massacre us when they no longer need us. That is why it is imperative that we free ourselves before we are re-enslaved. before they take out all of our rights completely. Because when that happens, they will continue to make more and more insane laws that will make us unable to do anything. That is the calculus that we are at right now. God, I hope we make the right choices. That's it. That's it for now. Thank you.